Welcome here on the Reflector podcast. This is a place of sharing where we widen our horizon and embrace together the beauty, the magic, and the mystery of life. It is a space where we can go deeper into the unknown and become the change we want to see in this world. This podcast is an invitation to embark on a journey of self-discovery and embody fully in all ourselves what it truly means to be human. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for listening. Let's dive together. Welcome everybody on this new episode of the Reflector podcast. I'm very happy that we meet again in this series about nervous system and the healing of trauma. So the first episode on this subject was called Living or Surviving, and the episode that we will go through right now is in continuity with this one. So if you want to better understand the core concept of this series and why we go deep into the nervous system, I suggest you listen to this episode. Of course, you can just listen to this one and you will have nothing missing, but some of the idea and the intention of this series is explained in depth in this other episode, Living or Surviving. So I suggest you listen to it if you really want to dive into the whole spectrum of the nervous system. And the idea of this series is really that we can dive into the understanding and the mapping of the different parts, especially of the autonomic part of the nervous system, so we can understand how this is very, it's a key point in how we can resolve and really heal from traumas. And that's why I decided to make a whole series on this subject, because in my own life this was really important, and in my work as a healer one-on-one in psychotherapy, I work a lot with that more and more, because I realized that the depth of the inner exploration and how our capacity to experience also our emotional world and the world of our beliefs as well in the mental realm is directly conditioned by the state of our nervous system. So working on this aspect of our being is really essential, because the whole spectrum of the emotions we can experience, like the range of our experience, is determined by the state of our nervous system. The state of our nervous system is like the screen on which the movie of our life, emotional world and mental world, will be projected. So working on that level for me is really essential. And I'm not spiritual path, because I'm also on the path of yoga and teach yoga. The main line of my work is to allow the nervous system of the people to get into a more secure mode, so we can, from this secure place in our being, welcome the parts of us that have been wounded and that have created separation within the pranic flow, within the psyche. So I called this episode Embracing Our Instinctual Self. And I called it that way because a lot of the work on the nervous system is actually about befriending this part of us. That it's really a part of us that is protecting life, whether we like it or not, whether we want it or not, whether we are aware of it or not. There is an instinct within us, in our nerves, that preserves life when it's threatened. When it's a question of life and death, there will be a part of us that will take over and protect us. And being aware of that and befriending that part is an essential step to realize on our shadow work, on our inner exploration work, it's essential, because otherwise we are fighting against this path, thinking it's like something that is harming us, that is going against what we want consciously, or sabotaging us, where actually it's a path that's trying to protect life and it does a fantastic job at doing that. So the part of this episode is about changing the perception we have on this instinctual part of our nervous system and understand that it is working for us and for life and never against it. And the main problem we have as a human species is that this instinct is buried under in the unconscious, and we don't want to welcome this animal kind of part of us. So that will be the main point of this episode. And the reason why I chose to dive deeper into the nervous system and the working about the instinctual self is especially that I found in my work, especially in a one-to-one work, but also in group work, because I work in retreats as a yoga teacher, and we dive deep into transformation work, shadow work, and healing of traumas in this perspective. And I also work one-on-one with people, especially I'm specialized in working on the balance of the nervous system. And I found that working on that aspect of our being is very, very important, especially since the time of the COVID. Because collectively, what we have experienced in the COVID period is really traumatic. And as a collective, we started to show symptoms of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, that usually happen when people have heavy traumatic issues, when they go to war and they see people being killed, or they themselves kill people, or very highly traumatic events. And in some way I observed and talked with my colleague, and we realized that the COVID had such an impact on our nervous system. And I will explain in this episode two key concepts that we really need to understand and that really need to be clear, so we can then dive deeper in the next episodes about the different parts of the nervous system, the autonomic nervous system. And those two concepts that also explains how the COVID was such a collective impact and trauma is first the concepts of neuroception, and second is the concept of regulation. And when you put those two together, it gives what we call co-regulation, and we will talk about it. And these are two words that are really important to understand and really grasp what is behind them, but also make part of our vocabulary, I guess. Because this is also part of befriending our nervous system. Through our words and the way we describe and talk about our nervous system, we have a way to include this part of us within our field of expression. And this makes it feel included. And this is when the autonomic nervous system is part of us, included, then we have a chance to relax and make it a part that supports us, and not that we fight against because we don't know what it is about. And it's really important because it's pure biology. And a lot of times I hear people talking about anxiety, stress, and say, oh, it's all in your head. And we hear that often also in the spiritual field, that you say, oh yes, but the future doesn't exist, the past doesn't exist anymore, we should only be in the present. Okay, fine, that's true. But then how do we do it? Because when the nervous system and this biological part of you stays in the past, it's not only in your mind, and it's not only the ideas that you make about your future that is creating a hell of your present, but it's the frame of your biology. And changing the thoughts and trying consciously to change the thought is not enough. positive thinking is not enough if we want to change the vibration of our being, because it's rooted in the biology of our nervous system. And if we don't address this part, you can put all the efforts in the world to change. It won't work. It won't work. So let's dive deep into those two subjects so you understand deeply where they come from. And those terms and a lot of what we will see in this series on the nervous system and healing of trauma comes from the work of Stephen Porges, which was a biologist, and he was studying actually the nervous system of ancient animals, and he really dived into the understanding of the evolution of our nervous system, and that's how he started to have all the theory about the autonomic nervous system that is really fascinating, and that helps us understand better our relation with the animal kingdom and how we also have differences from the animal kingdom through our biology, and how the human species is also unique in the spectrum of the evolution. So the first term I want to talk about is the term of neuroception. And we all know about our 5 senses, but now we have a wider spectrum about the senses, because of course you have the 5 that we all know, that the smell, the hearing, the touch, the whatever, the 5 that we all know. But you also have other senses, like the sense of heat, for example, the proprioception, also the sense of balance in the space, the way we move, and we have an understanding of ourselves in the space. We have all those spectrum of senses that gave us a sense of our identity and perception of the world. And one of those senses somehow we could call neuroception, and Stephen Porges put that name onto it. And it's really interesting because in this neuroception you have neuro, which gets the connection with neurology, neurons, and the neurological system of our being, the nervous system, and ception, which is perception. So it's how neuroception is this concept that through our nervous system, directly, the nervous system has the capacity to pick the vibe of the other nervous system in the environment. So that's really interesting, because if we take an example, that means if you have an antelope in the savannah, like in Africa or something, and you have a bunch of them, a tribe of them, what happens is if suppose it's a nice afternoon, it's kind of sunny, they are getting some good grass, eating nicely, and the herd is spread in quite a large area because they feel safe, they feel secure, and let's say their nervous system is in a relax and digest mode. They are in a secure mode, so they are eating the grass. So they are in a mode where they relax, they eat, and the nervous system is activated in a digest mode, so they can, the whole digestive system is open to receive the food and process it. That's the parasympathetic part of it, of the vagus nerve, allowing relaxation and digestion. They are in peace somehow. And let's say in the north part of the group, you have this antelope that start to hear a weird sound in the area, like behind the trees. Yep. Immediately the ears start to pop up, and the senses are more acute. The sympathetic system is activating. The action mode of the nervous system is activated because she wants to be more alert, more precise hearing about what kind of noise is happening there behind the trees, because it might be a threat. So immediately the nervous system go into action mode, and part of our energy go into the periphery of the system, starting to listen more, feel more, smell more. Every move in the grass, every move in the leaves of the tree, the eyesight is deeper, sharper. That's activation mode of the nervous system. And this is happening in the north part of the herd. And what happens is that this activation of the nervous system that just happened in the north, even it's a mild activation, what happens is the whole group, all the other individuals in the herd, like east part, west part, south part, even the one that are further away from the north part of the herd, where the individuals felt heard the noise, then the nervous system of the whole individuals in the herd will start to activate. That means the antelope that is in the south will be already aware that something is happening within the tribe. And if, let's say, there starts to be movement behind the trees, like something like the antelope sees some kind of animal or whatever, then the activation will be stronger, and this activation will be instantly felt also in the south part, east part, west part of the group. That means as a collective, as a community, we have this capacity, like animals, to perceive the state and of activation of the nervous system of everybody in the group. So that what happens is that the first individual who sees it, then the information is instantly communicated to the totality of the group. Okay? And that gives us a very good skill at survival, because then you don't need to shout or to have a special way to hear each other, find each other, so that the herd can run away from the threat, for example, or fight the threat. Everybody is instantly in the community, in the tribe, ready to have the optimum action to face the threat. So this is neuroception. And when the individual, for example, in the north of the group realizes, oh, that was just a bird, there's no threat there, then immediately the nervous system start to come back into parasympathetic mode, relax and digest. And the peaceful mode of the nervous system is on again, and they can eat food and eat grass peacefully again. And that will happen in the totality of the tribe again. Okay? So this is neuroception, the instinctual capacity of a nervous system to pick the state and the vibe of our surroundings, of the other members of our tribes, so we can protect ourselves from a potential danger, from a potential threat. So this is why we call neuroception. And as humans, we have inherited this from years of evolution and from the animal kingdom, and we are born with this capacity to pick instinctively through our nervous system the vibe of our surroundings. So this is very important to understand. And you see, immediately, if we just stay on the instinctual level, this is just supporting life. This is just an information system that is protecting us from danger. But if we start to put the mind into it, say, oh, why am I afraid? I don't understand why I'm afraid. I should not feel that way. Immediately we have thousands of strategies to put off this information system of our being, because we make it personal, where actually it's the tribe. It's an information from the tribe and from our surroundings. It's essential for us. And the more we deny this part of us, the more our nervous system is squeezed and locked, and the less we then have the capacity to have access to deeper levels of intuition and perception. So that's why I said in the first part of the podcast that we need to befriend again that part of us, because many times when we feel something, there's an activation of the nervous system. We think it's about us, where actually it's just us sensing the vibe of our surroundings. And everywhere we go, we will have this neuroception activated so we can sense other people. And a lot of the time, this neuroception, we are just picking the vibe of our neighbors, of our surroundings, of other people even in the work environment, in our family. We are sensing where they are at. It doesn't say anything of our emotional world and what we should do. It's just an instinctive part of us that gives us clue to whatever is happening in the environment. And that's so important. So that's the first step. We need to befriend and recognize that we have this neuroception, and that is an essential instinctual part of us that we need to welcome and acknowledge. So that's the first concept, neuroception. And the second concept I want to talk about today is the concept of regulation. Okay, and the concept of regulation goes hand in hand with this concept of neuroception, because regulations means this capacity we have to regulate our nervous system, meaning when we are in an activated mode of the nervous system, like action, like we perceive a potential danger or threat, that's action, activation of the nervous system. Then we have this capacity when the threat or the danger is gone, that we don't perceive it anymore, then we have this capacity to regulate, meaning we come back into the parasympathetic mode, which is the relax and digest mode of our nervous system. That's what we call regulation. I regulate from an activated mode to a relaxed and peaceful mode. And again, when I need to be more aware and face a threat, I activate my nervous system. Then I come back to relaxation. Regulation is this capacity we have to move from one state to the other very freely and almost instantaneously. So regulation is the whole idea behind the sciences of yoga and meditation. Yoga and meditation is a way to learn to regulate consciously our nervous system and move from those different states and go deeper and deeper into the relaxed and peaceful, secure mode of the nervous system, so we can start to digest the deeper part of our psyche, the deeper part of the unconscious, where the flow of the prana was stuck, where there was a discontinuity, where there was a separation. Each time we go through a traumatic event, what happens is that there is a discontinuity in the flow of prana. Discontinuity in the flow of prana means some parts in our energy body is not clicking, energy is not moving. And that means one part of the neurons in the brain is not clicking it. So that means there is a perception of life that we cannot have. There is a part of us that cannot tolerate certain situations in our lives. That's what happens. So this is why it's so important to learn about the regulation of the nervous system. And one of the ways we do it in yoga is through the breath. Because through the breath, we have a direct connection between our conscious mind and the instinctive part of the self, which is the neuroception of our being, the perception of the nervous system of the threats. So through the breath, through the sound, we learn to go deeper into the relaxation of the vagus nerve, so we can welcome more situation and we can start to tolerate more situation and more perception. That's the idea. So we can open up progressively to a deeper perception of existence. Okay? So this is neuroception, the capacity, an instinctual capacity of the nervous system to pick the state of the nervous system of our surroundings and all the individuals in our surroundings. And regulation, the capacity we have to go from an activated state of the nervous system to a relaxed state and navigate smoothly and easily from one to the other, and not staying stuck in an activated mode where it's not needed. because that's the whole point about the neuroception. If we don't have regulation, then the neuroception will always be in activated mode, and we will always start to perceive everything and everybody and every situation as a threat and a danger. And this is when our life becomes a hell. When something is peaceful, but we perceive it as a threat or a danger, that's when, because we are not regulated, then our neuroception gets perverted, and it gets colored. It gets into a geometry that doesn't correspond to reality, but we start to close ourselves into a perception of the world that is far from what is actually there, but it becomes more and more closed upon itself. Okay, and this is happening a lot in our modern societies, where we have a lot of stimulation from the screens, from society, from the technology and everything. We are in such a state of stimulation that our neuroception gets completely messed up. So one of the example, I want to give a concrete example, also a human example of neuroception and regulation is because it's very obvious in this relationship we have between a mother and the child, especially in the early days and months, when the relationship of the mother is through the neuroception is completely entangled with the nervous system of the child. From birth to, let's say, 3 years old, there is a very intricate connection of the magnetic fields, and there is a fusion between mother and child, and this manifests as a very a lot of resonance, a deep resonance of the nervous system of the mother with the nervous system of the child, especially with breast milk. No, because when the mother is giving milk to the child, she needs so much to be attuned with the needs of the child. So she will pick up through the neuroception system. That's why the sleep of the young mothers is very light usually, because it's completely locked into the nervous system of the child, so that anytime when it wakes up, when it starts to be hungry, the mother can feel it into her own system. So it's a very subtle and direct connection through the neuroception. And of course, each time the child has a need or is in an activation mode of the nervous system, through the touch, the first sense is the sense of touch. The mother, when she takes the child in her arms, will regulate through her own nervous system. She will regulate the nervous system of the children. So that means when it's activated, by taking her into her arms and relax, if herself she's relaxed, then the child will feel in secure mode and will be in relax and digest. So that's when it's a perfect example when neuroception and regulation come together. That means if I have the capacity to feel through the neuroception the state of the nervous system of another being, and I also have the capacity within myself to regulate my own nervous system, that means I can feel the stress of somebody else. And if I stay in a secure and relaxed mode of my own nervous system, and then through the neuroception, of course, the state of the nervous system of the person who is stressed next to me will start to calm down. This is what we call co-regulation. If I use the neuroception and the capacity to regulate my own nervous system in relationship with somebody else, then what is happening is co-regulation. I can participate consciously in the regulation of the nervous system of somebody else. And this is what happens. This is the main thing, the main bond that happens between parents and children. So it's obvious with a mother who is breastfeeding through the milk, or taking a young a baby in her arms, but it's happening all through the formative years as children. The way we somehow, I would go even deeper into that, the way we educate ourselves in a way is through the co-regulation capacity of our parents. If we see it from a really deep yogic perspective, there is no education per se. The way we educate our children is actually the way we are. The state of our nervous system, through the neuroception, the children will pick up the vibe of our own nervous system as parents. And that's how they will learn to navigate in the world. That's how they will learn what is safe and what is not. How they can express, how they can relax their emotional world and learn to build their trust and the trust in the flow of their own emotions. This is through the regulation of the parents. If a child is in a state of stress, in a very deep emotional stress, even a tantrum, and the parent, because he's not able to regulate his own nervous system, then he will shout at the child, and he will cover up the emotion, or he will stop the emotional expression of the children for some reason, because he himself or herself is afraid of her own emotion and the nervous system is not able to handle this emotional world. Then what it will teach to the children is it's not safe to express emotions. Emotions is a danger. Emotions is a threat. And through their neuroception, they will learn and embody through their biology that emotions are threat. So you see, on the opposite side, if when a child somehow, for example, hurts himself or herself, like they go on the bike, they fall, there starts to be blood, they're afraid, they start to cry, and the parent come, and through the neuroception feel the distress of the child, feel the fear, feel the activation of the nervous system, and stay in a relax and digest mode. Stay at home within his own nervous system and within his own relaxed state. Then what happens is the child will calm down. Very fast, the child will calm down. The emotion will go to the complete cycle of manifestation. The activated mode of the nervous system will complete the cycle of expression of that fire of, adrenals, fear, stress in the kidneys, activation of the blood, activation of the pump, the cardiac pump, activation of the whole hormone, the cocktail of hormones of the stress will activate, go to its completion, and the child will come back into relax and digest. And from that point, the biology, the nerves don't hold any memory from that event. It's gone. It happened. It went from the cycle of creation, complete manifestation, and disappearance. And it's gone from the biology. So the neuroception of the child doesn't hold any memory or any cloud, any colorings from that experience, except that, when I am hurt, I can relax into it and then everything is fine. Whereas a child in the same situation who as parents will be afraid, start to panic, start to shout, start themselves to cry and be in the whole tantrum, then they will be afraid the next time they go on a bike. They will feel the threat, feel the danger, and the whole nervous system will be shaky. And of course they will fall again. They will fall again. Why? Because their nervous system needs to go through the full expression of the stuck energy. So they will need to fall again and again and again until the cycle is complete. So you understand how deep this concept of neuroception, regulation, and co-regulation is at the core, at the base of our life. So when we talk about trauma, we talk about a state of activation of the nervous system that could not go through a cycle of completion. And this is very important to heal. What is traumatic is when the nervous system goes through activation, doesn't complete the cycle of expression of the energy, and stay stuck, and never comes back to a relax and digest mode. Okay? And when this happens again and again and again, and it might happen with very small events, it doesn't have to be a huge trauma, because, and it's very important, I said it already, I say it again, trauma doesn't mean I went through war or I've been raped. Of course, these are traumas. But sometimes, it's as small as just I fell down when I was 3 years old or 5 years old on my bike and I just scratched my knee. But if the cycle could not go through, it can become a trauma. When I go to the dentist and they get a tooth out of my mouth and it was very painful and it was, the blood and the sight of the tooth and everything, it was traumatic. The nervous system went into activation, could not complete the process. A part of my being is still stuck at this age. A part of my biology is stuck at this age. So you see, if part of you is traumatized because of you fall from the bike when you were 5, it's not only in your head. This is in your biology. So you can go to a therapist that will tell you, okay, think positive, trust, go on the bike again. No, it's not enough. You need to experience from a secure place in your being. Because the relax and digest mode of the nervous system, the parasympathetic, what we call the ventral vagus nerve, this is home for us. This is security. This is where we feel completely okay, relaxed, secure, at peace. We need to activate this part, and from this part, welcome the part that has been activated when we were 5, when we fell off, and allow it to go through the cycle of completion. We need to be this adult that was not there when we were 5. And until we do that, there is still a part of our energy that is stuck at 5 years old and that will color the whole perception we have of the outside world. And we will never see the world from whatever we are, 25, 35, 55. No, we will see it from the glass of a 5-year-old boy. And our biology, our physical body will perceive it from the length of this 5-year-old boy and its capacity and its understanding of life. So you understand how important that is to start to befriend this instinctual part of us. And what happened in the COVID period, and I will stop with that because it's already, I talked a lot, and I hope those concepts were clear for you because they are very important. But what happened in the COVID time, you understand how this neuroception is very linked to tribe, because this comes from the mammalian part of us, that we function and we learn to survive as a species, as a group. That's a specificity of the mammalian. They learn to protect themselves from danger and threat. They maintain their survival because they are in a tribe. That's the most basic need. The most basic need is not food. It's not rest. It's not drink. It's not having a secure place. And no, it's to have a tribe where you belong to. Because if you have the tribe, you have food. If you have the tribe, you're protective against the wild animals. If you have tribe, you will drink safely from the river. You will find food and shelter. But from this perspective, if you don't have tribe, you don't have all the other basic needs. And what happens during COVID, that we were put out of our tribe. So part of our mammalian neuroception was colored. We got into a trauma. The biggest trauma ever is that we are out of the the capacity we have to feel secure and at home, which is the tribe. So I will not go into much details about it because that would require a complete episode on the subject or even more. But I want to mention it because this is also the reason I'm doing this series, because we are all, of course, on different levels and different intensities, but we are all recovering from this trauma from the COVID. Okay? And that's why it's so important to understand how the nervous system is working. And in the next episode, we will understand the different parts of the autonomic nervous system so we can recognize themselves. Because if we can start to recognize how they feel, how they manifest, then we start to befriend them and we start to navigate in those different steps. And we don't make a drama out of it. Because that's what happens in the animal kingdom. They're the mammalians. They go from one state to the other very easily. Very easily. So we need to find this capacity again. And we don't want the neocortex and our intelligent cognitive part to stand in between all the time, trying to put sense of situation where there is no sense to the story. It's just an instinctual part reacting instinctively, naturally, organically. And I don't need to understand from the mind to solve it. I need to embody and allow it to go through a cycle of completion. And that's what we call understanding from a yogic perspective. It's allowing to be relaxed when before there was tension, and allowing this tension to go through a complete cycle of manifestation. That's what we call understanding. To stand under, to support, to give security when it was not there. That's what we call understanding from a yogic perspective. So, as you see, it's a very deep subject. Please share in the comments how you resonate with that. You might also feel, just listening to those words, that, okay, it gives you a different frame of understanding of your life, your reactions, and maybe a new field is exploring. Maybe you find yourself also having some nervous system reaction when you listen to me. That's perfectly normal. Maybe you have or you have, you get tired, or on the other side you get maybe excited, stressed. That might be a lot of reactions that are completely natural from the nervous system, just hearing that. Because while I'm talking to you and talking directly with the words that connects to this nervous system, our nervous system is already picking the vibe and the information. And that's the purpose for me of this podcast, is what we start to enter into the experience of it, not only a mental understanding of it, because as you can see, the mental understanding of it needs just to be in support of the somatic experience. This is what we are looking for. And that's why I'm talking about this theory, so we can have a somatic experience of it. And we start to map this whole part of our being, which is essential. So thank you. If you've listened, it's already 40 minutes you've been listening to me. So thanks for your patience, for your deep listening. Please ask any questions if some of the content was not clear for you, or you have some areas you want to clarify. Don't hesitate. I will also respond in the next episode to your questions, or even have specific episode related to your questions if needed. And so this is the second episode opening the field of the nervous system, and then we will dive deeper into it and understand how the healing of trauma can happen from that, with this perspective. Thank you very much, and see you next time. Have a nice day.